My name is Garrett Westlake. I'm the Executive Director of the Vinci Center for Innovation at VCU. And it's our pleasure to kick off a virtual open house. So this is our best attempt to give folks a flavor of all of the spaces and some of the great people that make Da Vinci Center what it is. And so, Da Vinci Center is kind of unique. We offer academic degree programs as well as experiential learning opportunities, and we're gonna share some of that throughout the open house. But we do all of those activities in spaces across VCU's campus. And so we wanted to really give folks a flavor of all the different places they can find Da Vinci on campus and what goes on in those places. And so we're actually going to start with our 807 South Cathedral space, where we have Stephanie standing by to give folks a nice little virtual tour and look around. Stephanie is our office manager and manages, among other things, a lot of calendars and events and physical spaces for Da Vinci. And the 807 South Cathedral space is our main administrative office. And so I will kick it over to Stephanie where she can give folks a little bit of a tour around the 807 space.
Thank you, Garrett. Hey, everybody, welcome to Da Vinci. So I'm actually at 807 South Cathedral Place, and I'm going to do the tour with you to show you what we have. That's experimental. Here we go. So when you arrived at the 807, you see the first desk in front of the door is me. So I'm the first person you're gonna see. We have on the right, we have a room called the Creative Square. So it's a big room where teams are working on their project. They can write on the walls. And for the moment with the COVID situation, we can hold 11 people together. Will you tell me if I'm going too fast? So in this room, we have our famous room called the Vault. And in the vault, you can see the door, it's a very big door. And in this room, we have our 3D printer that the student can use and our laser cut. It's a small room. It's only one person at a time. All right, oops. So that's the big room. We have a nap nest. It was a project of a previous student, right? Some students use it, they like to sit inside with their computer. They feel comfy. So that's our big main room. And yeah, we have a project with the unicorn and the post-it. All right. So this is the front desk, and we have what we call the phone booth. So it's just a small phone booth where you can access and have a private conversation or do your podcast or online meeting and be in quiet space. Just right there, we have the room called the aquarium. And it's a conference room with TV and everything. Normally it seats 8 people, but with the COVID situation, we limited to 3. Here is one of my favorite area. It's our kitchen area. We have bike ride. I don't know if you see it, where you can leave your bike. We have art students who paint project on a wall. And we are going to, you see, there is a lot of paper reminding how many people, keep your distance. And here is the Proto Lab. So the Proto Lab is a room where you can use a computer, printer, and we have a little maker garage with shop saw, press drill, a lot of woods if you work on projects, and we have a sewer machine, sewing. So here we go.
Oh no.
Office are upstairs. And I'll go back to you, Garrett, if I
Thanks.
can
Thanks,
change
Stephanie.
this.
So hopefully that gives folks an idea about some of the stuff that's there. The DaVinci specific prototyping equipment is there, and Stephanie coordinates our reservation process to make sure that students can reserve and have access to that. So if you have questions about what you need to do to use the 3D printer or the sewing machine or any of those spaces, Stephanie can help walk you through how you access those spaces. The university also has other spaces on campus for prototyping, so we try not to duplicate too much. So you will find that other units may have different equipment, and we like to share with each other so that you're not going to find duplicative equipment all over campus. We try and be intentional about having different things in different spaces. So now moving across campus over to Broad Street, we're going to kick it over to Kelsey, who's at our Innovate space.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay? Okay, I've never had to give a presentation wearing a face mask before, so this is weird. And hey Sydney, I saw you join. It's so good to see you. So I'm over at 1010 West Grace Street. If you guys are all familiar, or if you're not, we are located right basically across the street from the Siegel Center. So as you can see, like that's the Siegel Center right here. Hopefully I'm not blinding everyone. We have this space, which is actually located in the first floor of Grace and Broad Residence number 2. So there's Grace and Broad Residence 1, which is at the corner of Grace and Broad, and then we're tucked away right near 500 AC in Grace and Broad 2. And so LEAD is in Grace and Broad 1, and we here are over in Grace and Broad 2. And what we have here are our classroom spaces. So we will take a little journey, if I can figure out how to switch the camera, into our large classroom space. So our master's classes take place here, and we actually have a partition that you can see that breaks up the space. So it's pretty big. Normally, when it's not COVID, we have a lot of events here. Our pre-accelerator program, which we'll talk a little bit about later, takes place here. This room generally can hold about 160 people. With COVID, obviously, it's a little bit more reduced. The numbers are all on the outside of the rooms. But yeah, this is a really great, awesome space that we have here. And then over here, we have a small little classroom area that can hold about 10 people now, where some classes are taking place this semester. Maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, this is a small little classroom space that we have. Offices down that way to the hallway to the left. And then our conference room, which is right here. And every door is open, which is pretty nice. So yeah, we've got a nice little TV screen, and now it holds, I don't know how much, oh, this one holds 5. So that is Grace and Broad 2. So I'm going to give it back to Garrett.
Thank you, Kelsey. And those are 2 spaces that DaVinci has had for the last several years. And we're super excited that this academic year, we're going to be opening up a new space. Now, it's not going to be that new of a physical space, because Lloyd, who's going to join us in a moment and share the tour of this new space, is actually just what is through a wall from Kelsey. So later this year, we will be knocking out a wall and joining the space that Lloyd's in with some of the existing space at Innovate. So I will let Lloyd take it away. And as you can see, that space has yet to be built out, but that's what's going to be happening through the course of this year. So Lloyd, take us away.
All right, yeah, so like Garrett said, I'm in a pretty raw space. This will be soon, will be the VCU student storefront, where we will be able to sell student products. Students will be able to sell their own product, as well as alumni and some community partners. Right behind that wall is where Kelsey was. So it's right next to the Innovate classrooms, and we are across the street from Siegel Center. So once we're back in the swing of things, we can have tailgating and pregame parties with the Siegel Center. So it's a really cool space. We're excited. We're gonna start construction this fall and hopefully have some kind of launch in the spring or sometime in 2021. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Lloyd. And for those that are trying to imagine how that concrete room is going to be transformed, use your imaginations to envision a bar height bar running the length of Broad Street there with places to huddle up and have a conversation with someone else. There's going to be a lounge, and there's going to be really great spaces designed to have sort of product interviews where students can talk about their product with members of the public. And so this is meant to be a community space where members of the public will come and actually purchase student product as well as have conversations, and we're going to use it in our class. We've been saying that it's really sort of the laboratory equivalent of an innovation entrepreneurship program. So science has their laboratories, student athletes have their practice facilities, and this is really going to be our equivalent space. So we're super excited to bring this online. All right, I think MC's got some slides for us now that we're done with the physical tours. Any questions before I go on to some other programmatic aspects? Any questions about our physical spaces?
Are all of the classes like going to be in one of those spaces? Yes? Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah, no, great question. Great question. All right. And it looks like MC has us all pulled up here. So, one of the things that has been a value of the Da Vinci Center for a long time has been thinking about how we create inclusive, innovative communities. And even in the earliest, prior to, I think, almost anyone here being involved with the Da Vinci Center, the initial concept for Da Vinci was, how could you bring people together from different academic disciplines, which, a long time back, 15 or more years ago, was surprisingly a still kind of novel idea in higher education. And so it was, how could you bring people with different backgrounds academically together? Because research shows us that people from diverse backgrounds, when brought together, are more creative, are more innovative. And so obviously we have continued to build on those, that history of a center that is really inclusive and open to really look at our diversity and inclusion commitments. And so I'm thrilled that we have Dr. Kabler with us, who's been a member of this team as an assistant director, leading our D&I initiatives, and she's done some great work with our whole team in terms of looking at those values and how we put them forward. So I will turn it over to you, Kendra.
Awesome, thank you. Hi everybody, super excited to be here. Diversity and inclusion is super important to the Da Vinci Center, just like Garrett said. And so we've got some commitments that we really stand on when it relates to these areas. We're thinking a lot about access, connection, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how all of those pieces really come together for our students in and outside of the classroom. So whether you're engaging with us through a community program or you're taking our courses, we really hope that those are the foundational tenets that you see play out as you engage with our faculty and staff, and of course with one another. So we've also got an Ideate series that we launched probably about 2 years ago, that's really intended to help students think about the design process through the lens of social impact and social justice. So we're really focused on the stories, the people, the communities that we're designing and developing solutions and products for, and helping students to think about the larger impact and implications of their creation. So that's the foundation of our D&I work here at Da Vinci, and we're weaving it into everything else that we do. So you'll certainly be able to see evidence of that if you engage with us.
Great, thank you, Kendra. And a huge part of what we do at Da Vinci comes through our academic programs, and that's what most people, I think, kind of know us for. But we have this balance between academic programs and experiential programs. So I'm Allison Schumacher. I'm Director of Academic Alchemy for the Da Vinci Center, and it's my job to kind of look at these programs. How can we make improvements over time? How can we listen to our students, our faculty, our mentors, our sponsors, and try to find ways to make improvements every single semester, and not just kind of rest on our laurels and teach the same curriculum for 5 years in a row without ever really looking at it. If we're going to live up to our name as being an innovative center, we have to proactively work together on this. So we host undergraduate and graduate academic programs, both in product innovation and venture creation. And the biggest differences between those are on the product innovation side, we kind of give problems to students. We'll go to the CarMaxes, the Pfizers, the Capital Ones, and we will find problems. We also work with local startups, our health system, find problems for students to come together on these cross-disciplinary teams to really solve for something that's real world. It gives you one heck of a story to be able to talk about when you go out and apply for jobs. It may even launch you into wanting to build your own products and services. On the other side, we do venture creation. which is exactly that. We help you solve your own problems. We help students launch their own businesses before they ever leave, and kind of understand the steps in the process that you need to be able to kind of formulate an idea, validate it, and be able to move it towards commercialization. And we do both of those things in our Master of Product Innovation program. Kind of the balance between product innovation and entrepreneurship. It really is a mindset on how you solve problems, and that is embodied in that in the MPI program. The last one is our new certificate for healthcare innovation, which is a partnership between nursing, the School of Nursing and Da Vinci, and really trying to bring these two groups together to find solutions for our healthcare system. How can we build products? How can we build new services and processes that really help to solve real life solutions in our health system? We're going to get into a little bit more detail for that in a minute. But let's go into what is an undergraduate certificate. They're much like minors in that minors are kind of 18 to 21 credits of a particular subject, whereas a baccalaureate certificate like we have is a little bit more focused. We're kind of stepping you through a process to reach an end goal, a capstone essentially, so that you have a really impactful experience during your undergraduate work, and you have that ability to set yourself above and beyond everybody else who's graduating from your major, right? What makes you distinctive? What makes you a better hire than somebody else? Well, having a little real world experience and that mindset does a lot, and that's what we're hearing from our sponsors and from our community. And we're trying to align those two things. What do employers want, and what does the market need, and how can we feed that to students and really help you accomplish what you need to in your time here. So ours is a little bit more focused versus the broad subject of a minor. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. So a little bit more about our undergraduate certificate programs. Our Certificate of Completion in Human-Centered Design is actually the shortest of our undergraduate programs. And students are able to join or pursue this certificate rather by a simple application. It's a short application that students will complete, will review, just to make sure that what the student is seeking is what the program will actually provide. But the actual certificate program itself is really focused on this idea of human-centered design, the philosophies and theories behind it, really helping students uncover what it means to design things with people in mind, to design things with the user in mind. So we're in this program really focused on problem solving, again, really focused on creating those cross-disciplinary opportunities to think about things from different vantage points and different perspectives. And of course, thinking about how we might use innovation as a tool to creatively develop some solutions for communities that perhaps have been overlooked in the past. So human-centered design is really the foundation for all of our academic programs, but this certificate is an opportunity for undergraduates to get a taste of that as they think about what other areas they might be interested in. So Mary Chris can tell you a little bit more about our other undergraduate certificates.
Great. So our undergraduate certificate in product innovation is really focused on, well, we're going to use the word product a little loosely. So a product or a process that could be a physical product, a tech product, a process that solves a problem, but it's all focused on problem solving. And it comes at that, like Kendra said, through the lens of human-centered design, but also through a cross-disciplinary lens. And so our whole foundation here is bringing students together who are not studying the same thing, but so that you can all learn what you're uniquely bringing to a situation to help solve problems. And so in our capstone course for the undergraduate certificate in product innovation, we would have a business major working alongside an engineer, working alongside an art student, and someone studying humanities and sciences, so maybe biology. And they would team up to solve a real world problem brought to them by a community organization or a company in the Richmond area, sometimes VCU Health. So really designed to give you real world hands-on experience. You also take courses in the area that you are not studying. So if you're a business student, you take an art course and an engineering course with us. If you're an engineer, you take an art course and a business course with us. So it gives you that exposure that a lot of students are craving to study, not just the one thing you're majoring in, but other areas as well. So you get a little bit of knowledge across several different disciplines. Our undergraduate certificate in venture creation is perfect for students who know that they want to start a business or a nonprofit. And so this really does, as Allison mentioned, walk you through how do you start that business all the way from ideation to launch. And so you're going to gain the skills that you would need to do that in the real world. Students sometimes come into this program with ideas already in place that they want to just learn more about how to launch their business and get it off the ground. Again, they get a chance to work in cross-disciplinary teams. So you uniquely find out what you're bringing to the situation as a business major, as an engineer, as an artist, as someone studying sociology. Everybody has a lens through which they look at starting a business or starting a nonprofit, and you're going to bring that with you into this program. Again, this is rooted in human-centered design. So we talk a lot about how do you make sure you're starting the right program to serve the person that you're hoping to serve. So it's all very focused on the human that you are looking to serve. And so those are our 3 undergraduate certificate: human-centered design, venture creation, and product innovation. I am going to turn it back over. Oh, really quickly, I'm also going to talk about how you join these programs before I turn it back over to Allison. So if you're listening to this and you are not a student in one of our programs, how do you join these programs? So first and foremost, you do have to be a student at VCU. So to apply to certificate programs, you do already have to be a VCU student. If you are interested in that human-centered design certificate, there's an application on our website. And if you are watching this video, I believe we'll link to our website underneath in the notes so that you can get there. But we have an application that you fill out for that. And then if you're interested in product innovation and venture creation, there is both an application and a short interview that you need to do with that. And anybody who's gone through that process can tell you the interview is just about getting to know who you are, back to that human-centered design, getting to know who you are as a person and why you're interested in our programs, and just really making sure that you understand what the certificate is and what you're joining. So you can apply anytime to our programs. We have rolling admissions. And so if you're a student at VCU, you can go to our website, find the program you're interested in under our undergraduate programs, and then click on that application right there. As soon as you fill out your application, if that interview needs to be scheduled, you'll hear from Stephanie, who you had a chance to meet earlier, and she'll get that all scheduled and set up. And now I am going to turn it over to Allison to talk a little bit more about our graduate programs.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary Chris. So in terms of the Master of Product Innovation program, I could talk about this thing for about 3 years, so I'm going to do my best to keep it short. But it's a pretty innovative program in that it can take you just a year. You can start in the summer and end in the summer if you like. So it can just be an additional year that you come aboard. So let's say you go through the venture creation program and you have a product and you want to launch that thing. You can enter into the Master of Product Innovation program, have all the mentorship, the support that Da Vinci Center brings, plus our network to be able to help work that towards launch. And we have lots and lots of examples. So please come and talk to us because we're happy to share those examples. And also you can extend it out a little bit longer. So if you want to go part-time during some semesters, if you're working full-time, you have the ability to do that. So you can actually extend it to about 2 years if you want to. But on average, our students complete this program in about 13 to 18 months. And it does focus on what happens in industry and what happens for startups or the entrepreneurship process or the invention process of developing a product. You get the chance to look at both. We give you problems to solve, and then you get to ideate and think of your own ideas that you can help launch. It is also cross-disciplinary, so you do take more advanced courses focused on innovation for arts and business and engineering, as well as doing a project class that is a little bit more elevated than what we would do at the undergraduate level. We give more challenging projects. The teams are smaller. And generally have people who are coming from industry who are joining this master's program and can bring a lot of experience to the table. But this is the way that you actually finish this thing is very different than what you would experience in most master's programs. So you may work up that idea coming through the spring semester, and when you go to actually finish your capstone for this program, you can do that in a number of different ways. It may be that your product is really successful and you can just work full time to launch that product, actually form a business, an LLC, or incorporate and work 40 hours a week towards that goal. Or you can do an internship, and your experience through that internship, we coach you through it to try to help you win that internship. Generally, industry will maybe hire like 5 interns. We want you to be that one intern that they select to be the one who's hired and continue to work afterwards. Or you can write a traditional master's thesis. That's not an option that most people take, but we tend to be pretty flexible with how students might move through this as long as it's at a master's level of work. and they're working towards a great deal of success. And if you are really interested in being an entrepreneur, we have lots of examples how our students from this program have gone out into the world. They may have gone from being a biomedical engineer to running a product team at a tech company, or they might develop their own medical device company and get a couple $100,000 worth of funding during and after they leave the program. So those are real life examples, but we can give more detail later. Reach out to us. Let's see, who do we have next here? Oh, I'm sorry, let me pass it over to Joy to talk a little bit more about our graduate certificate in healthcare innovation.
Thanks, Allison. Hi, everyone. My name is Joy Polifrone, and I lead health innovation for the Vinci Center. I just joined this past spring, so I'm probably the newest member to the team. And I come from a background in the healthcare space myself, so I can attest to the importance of the combination of design thinking and healthcare product innovation. And I wish that more of the people that I hired, also probably myself as a product manager, had the opportunity to have in-depth knowledge and understanding of how do you do innovation in general, how do you apply design thinking to many different problem spaces, and then how do you do it in the context of healthcare. So that's really the crux of the graduate certificate in healthcare innovation. It's a partnership with the School of Nursing and the Da Vinci Center. It's launching just this fall with the first cohort starting and actually kicking off today. And that program is 12 credit hours. It's very easy to combine with the Master's in Product Innovation. There's a number of overlapping coursework and opportunities. You could work on a project in the MPI program that's in the healthcare space. We'll certainly give you a lot of exposure in both programs and in the undergraduate certificate programs and the undergraduate offerings in order to work in the healthcare space if that's a space you're particularly interested in. The other thing that the graduate certificate in healthcare innovation provides is specific coursework around how do healthcare systems and organizations run? How do they take decisions? What's the organizational architecture of the system? How does leadership structured and how does it work? But also, how do you think about what nurses often call workarounds? So these sort of unique ways of solving problems in a healthcare space that are happening all the time, which are tremendous opportunities to turn into potential products, services, offerings, and to what Mary Chris said earlier, potentially process changes, and those can be extremely impactful in the healthcare space. So I will now, I think, kick it back to Garrett, I guess, for the next space. Oh, or myself.
Well, I'll key you up. So I think
perfect.
We recognize that not everyone has the time in their schedule to complete an additional certificate program or a minor or a fifth-year program offering that we offer. And we also think it's important for our students who are in our academic programs to have the chance to practice. And so we've created a whole series of experiential learning opportunities that range in length from maybe a couple-hour workshop to a multi-week sprint or program, like our pre-accelerator program this past year. And I wanted to give one example. We're going to show you in a minute a calendar of events for the fall that encompass some jams and sprints. And we're going to use those different words, but what they really all boil down to is experiential learning opportunities. And this is really, you get out what you put in. So if you have the ability to show up and participate in one of these things, it's something to add to your resume. It's something that employers certainly look for when they're evaluating students when they come out of programs. And they're just a great way to meet other fellow students and mentors and community members. So this spring, we had a unique opportunity in COVID-19 to take what was going to be a sprint about healthcare and focus a little bit more intensely on COVID. And simultaneously, we were thrilled to have Joy join our team. And so she actually led this spring sprint for us. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit about what that looked like this spring and just how incredible some of the outcomes can be in a short course program like this that's not for academic credit.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett. Yeah, it's for me really tremendous to see, because some of the things that can happen in a 2-week period of time can be of the caliber of a large organization working on something for 3 to 6 months. And that's just because of the focus that happens, not just of the students who are looking at the problem space from a multidisciplinary, cross-functional perspective, but also because of the mentorship and the mindset of the community that organizes around a particular problem space. So a sprint is a great example of this. And the one that we ran in the spring was focused, as Garrett said, on COVID-19. When we initially were looking at running a healthcare sprint, we weren't thinking thinking that we were going to focus on this. So we also weren't thinking it was going to be fully virtual. So what also is fantastic about these types of models is that you can do a tremendous amount of work across different types of teams and organizations virtually if given the opportunity. And that's also a tremendous experience and very relevant in a global, let's say a global corporate environment, or even a global cross-industry environment where you have teams that you work with that might be from different companies or different organizations in order to solve a very challenging problem, especially in the healthcare or engineering spaces. So this particular program ran for just a little over 2 weeks. If you put it all together with demo day and some of the things that we did, it went a little bit longer than that, but it was a 2-week sprint focused on COVID-19. It was sponsored by the Health Innovation Consortium, which is a collaboration between the Da Vinci Center, VCU Health, and Activation Capital. And it was in March or April this year. There were a little over 30 students and 8 teams. As you can see, it was a cross-section of a range of different individuals with different backgrounds that were participating from across the schools and colleges, and from the health system as well. What was really cool to see is what happened in such a short period of time. So on the left-hand side, you can see 2 images. One is a team that came up with a very relevant solution and potential solution that's now actually still in development in collaboration with VCU Health. And that was something called Your Mask First. So one of the things that came out of COVID was that healthcare professionals, especially if you think to what you've been hearing in the news or what other people have been sharing about what's happening with COVID, they refer to it as the front lines. Healthcare professionals tend to experience a tremendous amount of stress and trauma. And this has been going on long before COVID, but it's exacerbated by things like pandemics or other crises. And so it was seen when SARS outbreaks happened before, but it was exacerbated tremendously on a global scale with COVID. And so what this team decided is that they were going to see if they could develop an app, something that could be easily accessible to healthcare workers, to provide tools and different types of resources to them at the time that they might need them. So things that were not necessarily, I'm going to go take a yoga class or I'm going to spend 30 minutes doing something, but a 2 to 3 minute clip on mindfulness, something that helped a healthcare professional take a pause during the middle of their day when they really needed it, instead of, something that they needed to invest a lot of time and energy outside of their working environment, because it's also important to know that these individuals are working tremendously long hours. So that was one innovation that actually won the healthcare sprint. And they have gone on to continue to work on that innovation. And they're doing that now in partnership with the Health Innovation Consortium and VCU Health. The second is really cool because many of us have been hearing about the shortage of personal protective equipment, or PPE, over the course of the last 6 months. And the specific thing that we've been hearing a lot about is these things called N95 masks. And they're a particular type of mask that was in an incredible shortage. So the suppliers weren't able to produce those masks. And actually many of the suppliers were in Wuhan, China. So what ended up happening was this really fantastic collaboration of students and academics and healthcare providers from all across the Richmond area coming together to figure out, how do we build a UV decontamination environment here? How do we look at some things that have been done in the literature and recreate a model where we can bring those N95 masks into a facility? We can use UV, like the sunlight, but not exactly, to decontaminate these masks. And what type of setup would we create in order to do this? So a student team came up with the trellis image that you're seeing here. And those trellises enabled us to roll in these masks, load them very quickly, do the UV decontamination, unload them, and then take them out another door from this facility that was fully set up. And so they're able to recycle or reuse those masks in the time of a shortage, which is tremendous, not just for this particular application of COVID, but also if you start to think about environmentally, how do we go about not producing so many things we might not need? So these are great examples of things that student teams did, sometimes in partnership with faculty and staff from across the Richmond area, the university and the academic medical center, and other times just by themselves. So Your Mask First was completely by themselves in figuring out this problem space and coming up with something that the head of the health system said was long time needed and very relevant. So it's exciting to see what people can do in just a short period of time. And in the spring, we'll have more opportunities for sprints like this, and not just in healthcare, but in other application spaces as well, like social justice. Garrett?
Thanks, Joy. And I hope that for those of you that are thinking about these opportunities, you realize the magnitude of what it means to be able to spend 2 weeks building a professional network, and solving real world problems. I mean, I think the work that students did this spring and that sprint with Joy and the rest of the team led to the ability to solve for a PPE shortage, led to better potential mental health care opportunities for our first responders. And I think that is something that is not only personally rewarding, and we try and find those real world problems where it can be impactful, but also in your own professional growth. These are opportunities afforded to you as a VCU student where you don't have to be in one of these programs. You can be a student in any program at the university, undergraduate, graduate, you can be a transfer student, a student athlete, whatever your university identity is, you can join one of these teams and build your skill set. And I think that that's just one of the things that really drives us in DaVinci, is to create those extracurricular opportunities for students. And so if you have something you'd like to see, let us know. Up here now, you're seeing the fall opportunities. So even with COVID and everything else going on, we're still making a number of opportunities like the one you just heard about available to students. And so we're kicking off with an intro into design thinking. If you've never heard that term before, if you wanted to learn more, if you are familiar with it and you're wanting to find co-conspirators and fellow classmates to work on projects with, this is a great place to do it. So we're going to kick off with a module on design thinking. You're going to see a couple jams on there. Those are short courses, think half day, couple hours to really talk about some of these things. And then you're also seeing up there some of the deadlines that we have for those programs that Allison and MC were sharing earlier. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that and let you know that we're here. You can find all of our events on our website. So again, we are going to link to that. We're going to continually be adding new events, so make sure you check that events page. We're going to keep it up to date. And you can also join our newsletter where we're going to send these opportunities out to you so you can follow along that way as well. So I'm going to now turn it over to MC, who's going to share about some of the student organizations and other ways you can get involved as a student leader with us on campus.
Awesome. Thanks, Garrett. So we've got two student organizations that students can be connected to, the E-Club and SoGal. So E-Club is really focused on students who are interested in entrepreneurship. So those students may already be founders, they may be interested in entrepreneurship, they may be very unsure about how they could even see themselves in that space, but they want to be interested. So really it's open to everyone. Students at the undergraduate and graduate level are welcome to attend these meetings once a month to engage with other founders, to learn from one another, bounce ideas off of each other, and really just be there to sort of support and brainstorm ideas and really think about how they can move their ideas forward. SoGal, on the other hand, is also focused on entrepreneurship, but really through the lens of female and diverse founders. So really thinking about those people who identify as women or diverse founders and thinking about the unique complexities of what that sort of founder journey looks like. So in SoGal, at those monthly meetings, we're often thinking about the different experiences that people might have. We're bringing in speakers to talk through how they've sort of overcome some obstacles, but also how they've totally rocked it and crushed some opportunities as well. And really thinking about how we can build out community. So both organizations are new and looking for student leadership. So if you are interested at all in being involved as a leader or even as a member, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get you connected and plugged in. You can find those meeting dates up on our events page as well, but you can also feel free to email me directly if that's something that you'd be interested in. So now I'm going to pass it over to MC to talk about the orientation fair coming up.
Great, so you'll have an opportunity to learn more about those organizations or just stop by and ask some questions about DaVinci. So the virtual student organization fair is going on actually all this week, but the day that we'll be participating is this Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll put a link to that up as well, but there's also a link if you just Google Virtual Student Organization Fair at VCU. That's all through Rams Connect, through the Student Commons and through Student Affairs. So we're super excited to participate in that. Essentially, you can find organizations that you're interested in, click on a Zoom link, and you'll come to our virtual booth and be able to ask questions. And so we'll be there definitely talking about those kickoff meetings for E-Club and SoGal, but happy to answer any questions about DaVinci in general. You'll have a chance to chat with me and also also one of our MPI students who's a graduate assistant. Sierra will be there as well. And so you can also ask some questions about the MPI experience if that is something that you're interested in doing. So we would love to see you at that virtual event. You can drop in anytime from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And again, to access that, it's going to be through the Rams Connect app, and you can find details on that through the Weeks of Welcome site at VCU or through Rams Connect, and you can just Google those things on the VCU site and they'll show up for you. And I am now going to pass it back over to Garrett to just close out our slideshow here.
So I just want to say thanks to the whole DaVinci Center team for making this happen. Thanks to all of you who joined us today to see our virtual open house. We hope you enjoyed getting a sneak peek into some of our existing spaces and our new storefront space that'll be coming online this academic year. Getting to see some of the faces of people that work in DaVinci, and feel free to reach out to any of us about the programs that you heard about today or the clubs and opportunities. We're all here to make your VCU experience a great one. And make sure you check out our website. In addition to events, you can also find a video that we published of our demo day last year, which is our celebration of some of those outstanding student outcomes, both from our sprints and our jams and our academic classes. So if you have a chance, jump on our website, look up our video from demo day for last year, and you can see what the end result looks like from some of those things like the healthcare sprint. And we look forward to seeing you in our classes, to having you join our student clubs and organizations and our jams all throughout this academic year. So thanks again for checking out the DaVinci Center at VCU, and we hope to see you soon.